to the continuing story of Peyton Place. Starring Dorothy Malone as Constance Mackenzie, Warner Anderson as Matthew Swain, Ed Nelson as Michael Rossi, Mia Farrow as Allison Mackenzie, Ryan O'Neill as Rodney Harrington, and Barbara Parkins as Betty Anderson.
Rodney Harrington greets this morning with bitterness and disappointment, for the conflict between his brother Norman and Joe Chernak has erupted into violence. But neither Norman's defeat nor Rodney's concern will bring an end to the Joe Chernak ordeal.
It was the lowest tide in 30 years, and the whole of Peyton Place went down for a clam bake the likes of which you'll never see. Clams the size of hubcaps, and they burned railroad ties to make a fire big enough. Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
You care for a cup of coffee?
No, thank you. I'm late for work.
Yes, well, I'm late getting down to the chandlery. But if you'll take a minute for a cup of coffee, sometimes the world settles down in the next.
Sometimes.
Sometimes not.
Thank you.
I gotta talk to you, Rita.
Is Norman all right?
No, he's not all right. He's lying upstairs, beat to a pulp. He's on the brink of... I don't know what. Now, I want to know why.
Why? Because of me. Isn't it obvious? I wish he'd never met me.
But he did meet you. And he liked you, and he trusted you. And he believed in you. And that was very important to him. Now, something happened to wreck all that. Yeah. Joe Chernak, I know. But how?
Every time things are right with Norman and me, Joe shows up. Taunts and lies and all sorts of stuff about me. Like making Norman think that something happened in the warehouse between me and Joe. He plants a whole new crop of doubts, and he just kind of backs off and laughs. I know Norman. He doesn't mean to believe all this stuff Joe tells him. I know he doesn't. But he just can't help himself. And I can't help it much either.
Hello, Allison. Hello, Mrs. Schuster.
Hello. Mrs. Carson?
Yes.
I'm Doris Schuster.
I'm delighted to meet you.
Well, it's ridiculous that we haven't met before, especially in a town the size of Peyton Place. It's my fault entirely. I've just been neglectful.
Well, I feel as if I know you already. Allison's told me a great deal about you.
Oh?
How is Kim?
Oh, she's coming along very nicely. I must say that a lot of the credit belongs to you. Your daughter's a remarkable young woman, Mrs. Carson.
Thank you.
Actually, that's one of the reasons I came by today. I thought we really should meet before tonight.
That's very considerate of you.
I must apologize for the late notice, but I'm so glad that you accepted. Your feelings must be as confused as mine to find our husbands in such sudden disagreement.
Yes, they are.
Well, perhaps we can help to smooth the waters.
Perhaps.
That makes my second reason for coming rather delicate. I've come to ask a favor. Allison, could you possibly look after Kim tonight?
Oh, well,
I know it's an imposition. Perhaps you could persuade her, Mrs. Carson.
I'm afraid that That would be for Allison to decide.
At least it'll give me a chance to see her again.
Thank you, Allison. We'll expect you this evening.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
That was very unwise of you.
Well, you accepted to go to dinner, didn't you?
Your father felt it was important.
Why?
Well, if he's going to be the editor of the Clarion, he has to get to know Mr. Schuster.
Why, so we can attack Mr. Schuster again?
Allison, your father did what he thought was right. The better he knows Mr. Schuster, the less chance there is of more conflict.
Then why do you object to my taking care of Kim tonight?
Are you trying to prove some sort of point?
Only that I'm not afraid either.
Afraid of... of what?
To go back and take another look at the Schusters myself.
Beginning to realize what my big problem is going to be.
And what's that?
Small talk. No, I'm serious. You know, it's one thing to drop in on the desk sergeant every morning, and it's another thing to chat with him about everything from the weather to the weather, just to convince him that I'm a stout chap. Once I've convinced him, then he'll tip me to what's going on in Peyton Place.
You're beginning to get the feel of it, and you're absolutely right. So you'll be tempted to spend as much time as possible sitting behind your desk, and you have to fight that. Because in a small town, desk time is wasted time. You have to pound the beat. To get a hold of yourself, grit your teeth, and be prepared to spend an awful lot of time listening to the small talk about the minutiae of the world.
I'm worn out already. Let's see now, there's the mayor's office.
Twice a week.
City council.
Mm-hmm. The Chamber of Commerce, Doctor's Hospital, the State Highway Patrol. They're all on your regular beat, and they're on a checklist in the office. What is it?
Strange mind works. You know, the first day I came back after prison, I wandered through this square.
And if the pillory had been 1 foot to the right or left out of place, you'd have noticed it. See, the pillory, the cannon, the bandstand, they're all living and breathing things to people born and raised in Peyton Place.
I saw George Anderson sitting on the bandstand here, sitting and staring. We talked, you know, about the war, of course, and how heroic we both had been. And he told me, Elliot, he says, wherever you go, dig yourself a good, deep foxhole because you're going to need it. And I was so full of my own problems then, you know, whether or not there was anything for me in Peyton Place, and could I rebuild? And then I looked at George, hunched over, crushed under the sheer weight of living. I don't think I ever felt sorry for myself again.
Mark, there's a phrase in there I always get a kick out of. Paid to the order of Doctor's Hospital, 10,000 and no hundreds. Sounds so simple. Huh? You know, there are no conditions with that. He never said a word about how we should use it. I suppose that'll be left up to the administrative committee.
Yes, they usually have the jurisdiction.
Probably a long list of projects.
Yes, and the first that comes to mind would be to knock down a few walls. Enlarge surgery as much as possible.
We need that, there's no question there.
And we could use a standby x-ray unit, and the doctors' and nurses' lounges could stand modernizing.
There's no argument.
As a matter of fact, there are probably enough uses for this money to provoke a lively debate on what to do with it.
I think I may make that debate a little more lively by making a recommendation of my own.
Well, I'd be happy to follow your recommendation, Michael. Once I knew what it was, and if I approved.
Well, I'm not quite sure myself, really. Whatever it is, it'll be something more than what's involved with the practice of medicine in Peyton Place.
Vincent Markham has left a lasting impression on you, hasn't he?
Impression? He turned me inside out.
Yes, I know. I saw it happen.
Was it so obvious?
You're not the first man on earth to question his own choices.
I know, but I never interrogated myself with such vigor before. He could die in Peru.
Not if he's careful.
It's possible.
He has a lot of courage, more than most of us. And he has my daughter.
That's right. Talking about Vincent Markham, I completely ignored the fact that Claire is going away with him.
Oh, Claire's broken away now, and that's good. For Claire herself, for my wife, for me, she belongs to a man that I wouldn't have picked for her if I'd had the wisdom of Solomon. And that's good, too.
Well, they'll be in Lima soon. Then the mountains. There are no mountains here. Doctor, with your permission, I'm going to fight for the use of some of that money for a project of my own.
In a way, we wouldn't have the money if it weren't for you.
I know. I won't mind fighting for it anyway.
I'll be happy to fight right along with you, Michael, once you decide what it is you want.
Thank you for understanding, Doctor.
Oh, I understand. You don't want to end up like me.
It isn't really a question of ending up like you, Doctor, because I'm not just like you. Nor am I saying that I'm better than you. Nor do I want to stand back to back with you to see who's the taller. I mean, maybe it's just that I want to take a measure of myself.
Betty?
Oh, fine, Rita.
I bet she finds hospital work interesting.
She likes it.
Hello, Mrs. Anderson.
Hello, Mrs. Schuster.
What a nice surprise. May I join you?
Oh, please do.
Thank you. I'll just have some black coffee, thank you.
Okay. I have some work to do in the stockroom, so if either of you want anything.
We'll shout.
You have no idea how happy I am to see you. I was just hoping that I'd run into somebody that I knew so I could stop running for about 30 seconds today.
Oh, those frantic last-minute preparations.
Frantic, you have no idea. I had to come into town to pick up the turkey and the hams from the butcher because his truck broke down.
Well, I've been running a little bit myself. I spent almost an hour going over bank statements this morning.
Really? Mm-hmm. The mill banking?
Yes.
You know, Mr. Schuster tells me that you are a very great help to him.
Thank you.
He got off to Boston all right this morning.
Good. Good. He ought to be there by now.
This is a very important moment for him.
I guess it is.
He's been so preoccupied with this report. What do you think Martin Peyton's reaction will be?
I don't know, Mrs. Schuster. I couldn't even guess. But you want to know something? I'm not sure it's important.
Oh, but it is. Oh, well, it's everything.
The decision itself was everything. Your husband's decision. He made it, and he stuck by it. You know, I have worked for a lot of years as a secretary, and it's good to see that kind of courage in an office.
Yes, I'm sure it is. Well, this has been lovely. Goodbye, Mrs. Anderson.
Goodbye, Mrs. Schuster.
I'll see you soon.